In this edition of Artifacts, a look at Halloween papier-mâché.
Our theme for the studio is basically Scarecrow Joe's studio where every day is Halloween.
The craft of the barber.
Barbering is, in fact, the art of defining someone's inner personality and their outer physical being. And by doing that, you actually build someone's self-awareness and their self-confidence.
A stage for the deaf community.
When someone is telling a story and someone else is listening, the brainwaves of the speaker and the listener actually sync up. It's actually the way in which we build relationships and connect to each other.
And the energy of abstract expressionism.
It's not unnatural for an artist to burst out into abstract painting because what you're doing is you're losing an image and it becomes all about shapes and colors.
It's all ahead on this edition of Artifacts.
Funding for Artifacts is made possible by Sandy Raffelli, the June S. Wisham Estate, Carol Frank Buck, Merrill and Lebo Newman, Heidi Marie Rockland, Meg and Dillard Myers, the annual contributions of PBS Reno members, and by
Hello, I'm Beth Macmillan and welcome to Artifacts. Pumpkins, witches, and trolls, oh my. These are just a few characters that come to mind when you think of Halloween. But for Joanna and Yvette, the artists behind Scarecrow Joe's studio, Halloween is more than just a seasonal holiday. Let's see how these artists transform simple materials into spooky sculptures.
The great thing about Halloween is that there's no exclusivity to it. It's completely inclusive to any kind of train of thought or personality or person or your own personal background.
With Halloween art, you can be gruesome, you can be vintage, you can make happy kind of sculptures or really spooky and scary things. And I always want to create something bigger, something more monstrous or hideous. Our theme for the studio is basically Scarecrow Joe's studio where every day is Halloween.
We make all of our artwork out of papier-mâché.
Our number one thing that we make are jack-o'-lantern sculptures. We make trolls, monster busts, life-size sculptures like witches. Most recently, we started making gargoyle sculptures.
Scarecrow Joe Studio is a think tank for Halloween awesomeness.
I basically start everything out with the old-fashioned newspaper dipped in paste. And then I apply that over an armature that I build. I use strips of cardboard to give it a three-dimensional look to the eyes and the nose and the mouth. And then once that process is done, we make our own homemade papier-mâché clay, and we sculpt in the details that way. After that hardens, that's when Yvette goes in and works her magic with the paint and brings it to life that way.
First thing, it gets sanded to kind of even out the different layers and so that the paint goes on smoothly. Then it gets a complete coat inside and out of a white primer. Then it gets a complete coat of black. And then after that all dries, it gets what's called a dry brush effect over top of the black with another layer of white to get a three-dimensional look. And then from there, after that dries, it gets at least 4 to 5 layers of different colors of orange. Each layer gets either brighter or darker, and each layer gets less and less and less paint. Then I finish the stems, and then the whole thing gets sealed with polyurethane.
When I'm making that piece of art, from start to finish, I get very involved in it.
It takes months for a piece to be finished, so I'm watching it come to life. To watch something go from just a round ball of nothing to this caricature that is animated in a way is something that kind of gets in my heart.
Sometimes it's a little bit sad too. You reach that point where that piece is finished.
The pieces become kind of like part of the family. They really do take on a personality and a life of their own. It drives her crazy because half of them I want to keep all the time. And she's constantly telling me we don't have room to keep them all, which is very true. But I get very, very attached to the pieces, especially by the time I'm finished painting them.
I have a really great support system for my crazy art studio. Yvette, my wife, she'll ask me, what crazy thing are you making? And then, of course, you know, when I'm done, she's excited to take over from there and paint.
Besides it being therapy and a way to meditate, is a family affair. My wife and I have been doing it together for 6 years, and the beautiful thing about that is that we still love each other, and we haven't killed each other yet.
It creates kind of a strange bond when you have that partnership with the person that you're married to. You're creating anything with that person. It's very special and it makes me very happy. I don't think I would be as happy if she wasn't involved in it, to be honest with you.
It's not so much about the fact that it's Halloween, it's about the fact that we do it together.
See more of their papier-mâché sculptures at scarecrowjoes.com. In this next segment, we head to Florida to meet two barbershop owners who have mastered the art of cutting hair. With their creative set of tools, they help their customers be more confident in themselves.
The art, but barbering is in fact the art of defining someone's inner personality and their outer physical being. And by doing that, you actually build someone's self-awareness and their self-confidence. So where I'm trying to go in the next few years is just put my stamp on the world, you know, show them that I am an artist in every form and that, you know, anybody can do anything that they put their mind to.
My name's Billy Work. I'm the owner of the Works Elite Barbershop. I got into barbering probably when I was a kid. So I grew up in the projects in New Jersey. We were very poor. We didn't have a lot at all, and we definitely couldn't afford haircuts. So what I did was started cutting hair myself. So what I wound up doing is it led from cutting my own hair to some friends and, you know, cousins and like my stepdad and my brother. Then it got to the point where they didn't want to go anywhere else because no one could cut someone's hair like me. It led to me finally getting my barber degree, and I decided to go to school and actually make it a career, and it's probably the best thing I've ever done. Once I got out, I had a goal, I had a 5-year goal to make my own, to have my own barbershop, and I wound up, within 4 years, I was ready to get out on my own. I think it's the best career I've ever had, and then, you know, including like my art and stuff, I got started with art also at a very young age. I was drawing people's names on their books for school, all their book covers, drawing their names and doing, you know, graffiti. And then it just evolved from there. I wound up having a show at the Dali Museum a few years ago. That was really cool. We sold out. I sold everything within like an hour and a half. Now I'm still doing commissions, and I'm trying to just go further in barbering and just putting everything, you know, as one. They pretty much go hand in hand as far as art and barbering go.
For more information, go to edgeitup.com and workselite.com. And now it's time for this week's art quiz. In what country did the jack-o'-lantern tradition originate? Is the answer A, England, B, India, C, Ireland, or D, Russia? Stay tuned for the answer. Wisconsin's Ex Fabula is a non-profit that embraces the power of personal storytelling through workshops, story slams, and more. Up next, we attend one event where members of the deaf community came together to share their stories.
The great thing about stories is that they reflect the real complexity of our lives. When someone is telling a story and someone else is listening, the brainwaves of the speaker and the listener actually sync up. It's actually the way in which we build relationships and connect to each other. Ex Fabula is a Milwaukee nonprofit, and our mission is to connect Milwaukee through real stories. We've been around since 2009, and we put on story slams and workshops where people share their true personal stories, and in the process, build community, connect with each other, and even heal. We started out with these story slams, which are events where anyone could put their name in the hat for the chance to get up on stage and share a true story. And all the stories are on a theme, so that hopefully over the course of the night, we really just explore all the different human experiences that are out there. Storytelling can look different depending on which group is involved. We actually discovered that the deaf community doesn't consider themselves to be necessarily a disability community, that it's really more of a language and culture.
We have two different American languages here. We have sign language for us to be able to express ourselves, and not only in the signs that we're using off our hands, but our full body. It's everything. It's our facial expression to show our mood, our temperament, and it's kind of like intonation in English, how you speak and how you say certain things and you emphasize certain words. We are able to do that as well.
Myra and Jose are two community members who have been shaping this particular collaboration. When we first started the project, we knew it would be really important to have people from the deaf community helping to design the project.
Ex Fabula has been a great experience for the deaf community, and I think it's going to be great for the hearing community as well to hear our stories, probably something that they haven't heard before.
What really impacts me is this controversial topic of diversity.
I think a lot of people in the audience will look at that as a label, and I want them to keep in mind what kind of impact that leaves if you're making an assumption.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first Deaf Story Slam.
The storytellers are going to be getting up and sharing stories on the theme of labels. At the Story Slam, we will have around 6 people get up on stage and share a true personal story. Now, these stories will be signed, so we'll have interpreters who are interpreting from ASL into spoken English so that both the deaf community and the hearing community can appreciate the stories.
A little bit in that time in the 80s and 90s, it was seen upon that deaf people were almost kind of embarrassing. It was shameful because we would try to learn how to talk, but a lot of people would say that our voice was not as eloquent or as beautiful as a person who can hear. We were monsters.
I wasn't ready to be done working. I want to work. I have skills. I am capable. I want to work, but nobody was willing to give me a chance.
I let them know that I was very interested in this job, and I wanted to know they were too. And they said, yes, we are very interested. You have all the qualifications we are looking for, but we do have one concern. You can't hear. And with being able not hearing, we have safety issues. So hearing that, as you probably all know, was a huge frustration. I couldn't believe that that was the one thing that was holding me back from this job that I wanted all my career.
I should mention that I had a son at the time. My son's school would sometimes call me. I would step in the hall, take the call, 5 minutes, and then go back to doing meal prep for lunch. And then I got a warning from this boss saying that I was in violation of the rules because I was using my phone. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Because you're on your phone all the time. You just have it up by your ear while you're cooking and you're talking and you're cooking at the same time. I can't do that because I'm deaf. I got to step into the hall and do my business and come back.
Well, I talked today about being an independent woman. You know, just all the hardships I have gone through to figure out what I needed to do to be successful as I am today. You know, those barriers are important. They make you who you are. They develop your character. But, you know, I'm very happy to be where I am now.
But my uniqueness wasn't just a college student trying to find identity. I was a Black, deaf man trying to find my way in the world. My topic, I focus on communication and how to overcome through adaptation. I wanted to focus on this idea that I didn't want to worry about barriers and how to have other people take control of my story. When I thought I was going to have to make a change, I wanted to take authority and find that way that I needed to by myself in order to be successful. When I was in college, I honestly didn't think that a support system was needed. I thought independence meant me and myself only. I thought I could make it by myself meant that I was successful. But we had to think about making sure you had support, if it was teachers or emergency contact or someone who could just ask you if you were all right. I wanted to make sure that I had that transparency with individuals in my community as well as I had with my family. I decided that I wanted to make sure that I had a company that supported me in the communication realm and the expertise that I brought, because I am qualified to learning how to communicate with the hearing world.
Am I proud? Yes, I'm proud to be deaf. I'm proud to be Mexican. And if you don't like me, pfft.
I want people to be more aware. Deaf people have been through a lot. I want you to acknowledge that we know what we're talking about. Keep that in mind as you meet us out in the workforce or in other daily situations. Be our ally. Come alongside us.
To learn more, head to xfabula.org. And now let's review this week's art quiz. In what country did the jack-o'-lantern tradition originate? Is the answer A, England, B, India, C, Ireland, or D, Russia? And the answer is C, Ireland. Ruth Gilmore Langs is an abstract expressionist. In her vivid artwork, she favors texture, color, and shapes. We visit the artist in her studio gallery to find out more.
I love color. It seems to talk to me when I work. My name is Ruth Gilmore Langs. I'm an abstract painter, and my studio gallery is in Islamorada, Florida. I think that the keys are unique in their light. The light is very different here. It's very ultraviolet light, and that's an inspiration. As an abstract expressionist, I love painting large scale. I love thick paint, all the way. Thicker the better. I use a lot of texture, definitely. I used to be a weaver when I was younger, and I loved the texture and fibers, and I think it's translated into the painting. It's not unnatural for an artist to burst out into abstract painting, because what you're doing is you're losing an image, and it becomes all about shapes and colors. And for me, I see it as a very high form of expression and extremely challenging, because you're losing the trees and the ocean, and trying to emote and communicate through brushstroke, color, paint, energy. In my heart and in my soul, I'm a storyteller. And whatever medium you land on as an artist, it's storytelling. If we're lucky, we get to show. And showing is a completely different thing than painting and working. So suddenly you've been working alone and focusing on your topic, and then you move it into a studio and hopefully have a really big fun party. I pick themes and then I follow them. And that's true for the USA series. I've been following it for 20 years. And one of the things about following a story is it started with 9/11 and the shock of that, the shock the whole country had, the whole world had with that. And then to follow that series into what America is today, there's a story there. And I'm telling it through shapes and color. And what it's saying is going to be everybody's eyes and ears to figure that out. For me, that painting is a victory because I was trying really hard to express the beauty of America, the rivers, the sunshine, the land, the expansiveness, all the while with the limitation, which isn't that big of a limitation, but I was on a 10.5-foot canvas trying to express our huge nation. The second piece to the USA series, which I started after 9/11, is probably the darkest piece in the series, mostly because it's black and white. It's a repetition of USA and the numbers 11. And as I began repeating the numbers 11, it became obvious to me that that represented the Twin Towers. I myself have come to see the paintings as mirrors, and they're a reflection, and I think they'll offer whatever needs to be offered to each individual person, because we bring ourselves as much as anything to these paintings. They will give out, but you bring yourself, and everybody's going to bring their own history and their own story and their own feelings about America, no matter where you're from in the world. And I think these paintings are an attempt to express it through abstract expressionism. How lucky is that that's my tool.
To see more, head to instagram.com/RuthGilmoreLangs_studio. And that wraps it up for this edition of Artifacts. For more arts and culture, or to watch past episodes, visit pbsreno.org/artifacts. Until next week, I'm Beth Macmillan. Thanks for watching.
Funding for Artifacts is made possible by Sandy Raffelli, the June S. Wisham Estate, Carol Frank Buck, Merrill and Lebo Newman, Heidi Marie Rockland, Meg and Dillard Myers. The annual contributions of PBS Reno members, and by